could, hit the like when you watch the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification so you can get up-to-date information when I drop a new video. So, if you haven't noticed, I have a visitor to the channel. This is my very first visitor. This is my sister, Stephania. She is here because she posed a great question that I wanted to bring to the channel. And her question was,
as an educator, I have concern about protecting myself prior to work, after work, and I want to be smart about it. So that's my question.
all right.
What are my options? And how do I look at that from a legal perspective? And also, my main thing is my personal safety.
Okay. So you're an educator, right? So in what capacity are you an educator? Are you in a daycare? Are you in an elementary school, high school, middle school? Are you a teacher? Like, what capacity are you?
High school administrator.
Okay.
So that means that sometimes I keep late nights, have responsibilities of making sure everything is closed up in the evening. And sometimes I am, when school is not open, in the building or around the building, alone or maybe with one other person. So
you're pretty much an executive in your educational setting,
yes.
Right? So you're not a teacher, you're not a counselor, you're a key holder. You open up the building, you close the building, right?
Yes.
So that's a really good question, and I think there's probably a lot of more people out there that would like to ask that question but don't really know who to ask, or don't really have the answers, figure out how to get those answers, right?
Right, because specifically you know that you're not permitted to introduce weapons to the school environment, but there are times when you're not in the direct school environment, in the capacity of work that you have.
Like students and all that.
Right.
So I took the liberty, I found out where exactly what school district you worked at. Number one, I'm not a lawyer. Number two, I'm not law enforcement. Number three, I'm not your firearm instructor. But I did take the liberty of looking at your school district and the policies that they have on weapons. They really didn't have a lot of policies that I saw, and the ones that they did have were in reference to explosives and firearms, and they were pertaining to students, not employees. So maybe you want to check your employee handbook. Number one, your state, city, local laws, and your employee handbook to see what's covered in reference to self-defense, protection, firearms or weapons. On school property, because there are other alternatives versus a firearm. So what we have here on the table, as you can see, I do have some firearms. I have a couple of knives and a couple of flashlights. Just to let you guys know, out there in the safety gun universe, all these firearms have been safety checked. There's no ammunition on the table, and all these magazines are empty. So from that standpoint, everything's clear here on the table. So number one, you're concerned about your personal protection before school starts and after school has ended. You're in the building by yourself some days, and you may not be able to control the environment of outsiders coming onto the property, and there may not be a public safety officer or a sheriff deputy or a police officer on the premise when you're there, right? So, number one, I would say to you, if a firearm is not permitted for you to have on campus, I would look at other alternatives like a knife. So, something like a knife is more of a last resort, close combat style of weapon. Something like this, Sheffield, is very comfortable in the hand. You have a glass breaker here, so certain situations you may have to use that to break a glass to get through a door, or any type of emergencies, and you'll be able to protect yourself from any situations where you may have several individuals or one individual that you have to fight off and get to safety. Number two, I got another little knife right here. It's a great battle knife, great for slicing, super concealable. That's number one. If you want to conceal, make sure that no one sees what you have, and you can get to it very fast. Also, flashlights. It's always great to have some flashlights. You never know when you may need a flashlight. Sometimes you flash a light into someone's face, ask them questions. Hey, who are you? Why are you here? You need to exit. Sometimes that can deter people in certain situations. There's the running joke of the flashlight cop.
Yes.
Right? But to be honest with you, some people, if they can't see you and you're blinding them with this light, it can pose as some form of protection, right? And of course, I have another flashlight here. And both of these flashlights are magnetized. They range from, this one's like $5, this was like $40. You can get them in general stores. This one's rechargeable through USB, and this one is with AAA batteries. So those are really entry level, super concealable ways of protecting yourself. I always recommend that someone keep a flashlight on them at all times, right? You never know when the lights may go off. Let's say, for instance, you're in the building by yourself, someone cut the power to the building, you're in complete darkness. A flashlight is something that you can always keep on your person to get out of certain situations. If you're stuck in the dark, they can find you. You can't find your way out. But if you have a flashlight, that may also be able to help. Also, I have a multi-tool. This is a Gerber mini multi-tool. It has pliers, has the bottle opener. It also has a blade. The pliers has an integrated cutting tool. This can serve as a situation where you may have some zip ties. Someone may have tied your hands or your feet, and you may figure out a way to get this, or you may need to cut open something to get through a door or whatever. And that's the worst case scenarios, but having a multi-tool can be a great asset in many situations. And this also has scissors. One of the things that I also wanted to talk about was mace or pepper spray. Having mace or pepper spray on yourself, you can spray someone and it'll give you time to get away, or multiple individuals. I would definitely say no matter what you decide to utilize, you always want to practice, keep them on your person. You check the expiration dates on them, make sure that they're up to par, you get a reputable brand, right? And these are items that you can utilize that are alternatives to a firearm, right? They aren't something that's as lethal as a firearm, but you can utilize them as an alternative. So what are some of the questions you may have when I look at a flashlight or a multi-tool or a knife, or even bringing up pepper spray or mace?
So I definitely think the flashlight is necessary. With the multi-tool, I see that as a good go-to as well. The knife, probably in the vehicle, maybe. Um, Particularly, I noticed that the knives are different. You have two very different variations as far as the blade, also as far as how you like this one with the hole. I kind of like that one as far as how you can grip it. But yeah, I guess no true questions about the knives except to notice that they're different. The multi-tools, when we're looking at those, they come in with a variety of tools. I see you have a smaller one, but they come with a variety of different options, or how do you go about selecting a multi-tool that's
So you have different brands. So this is a Gerber. Gerber make multi-tools, where you're gonna have different tools like a nail file, scissors, blade incorporated into it, a cutting tool, pliers, a screwdriver like a flathead or a Phillips screwdriver incorporated into them. You also have brands like Victorinox, Leatherman. You know, the Leatherman Wave is like one of the best multi-tools you can get, very handy. And they range, like this one right here was like around $10. You can get a Leatherman, can go all the way up to like $200, you know what I mean? So whatever kind of
and those are gonna have like screwdrivers and
everything, and they're gonna have different metals, different quality of feel. You definitely, once you start feeling these different multi-tools, you'll see, man, this one feels like it's a higher quality item, you know. And also weight kind of goes into play. You know, you may have a higher quality multi-tool that it may weigh a little less than one that's half the price, you know. So if you're gonna be walking around all day, especially a school administrator, you're on your feet, you're walking the halls, you don't want to have something that's weighing you down all the time, you know. So that kind of goes into play. What's your familiarity with firearms? Like, are you familiar with them, or have you ever used a firearm in the past? And what's kind of your background?
So I have some recreational firearm use. Not super comfortable with them at all.
Okay.
Of course, don't carry a weapon at this point, and I feel like with firearms, I don't feel I know. You need to be confident and sure about how to handle them, and knowledgeable about the laws of your area too. So I really haven't had a lot of experience with firearms.
Okay.
Other than, you know, so outside of work purposes, just I live in a rural area, so you know, you're driving in a rural area, you may experience car trouble or what have you, so you don't want to be out alone and vulnerable. So I just want to be a little bit smarter about how to protect myself in this day and age, as a lady in particular.
Sure. So that's a great point. So with something like the non-firearms, like the flashlight, the knives, the mace, the pepper spray, a stun gun, or a taser,
Okay.
or items that you may want to incorporate if a firearm is a non-factor because you're on a gun-free zone.